Hey there, Jacksonville. This is Weather Watchers Worldwide, and today we're going to be looking around the world at some severe weather in various parts of the globe, and also including across the United States, and of course the local weather here across the Southeast, including Jacksonville, Florida, where we are always streaming from here at the First Coast News studio. So, yeah, first off, it's just me here today. Lee's off today, and taking a look at what we have coming up. We do have the Olympics still going on throughout the weekend, and some severe weather back closer to home. Even got a pretty interesting video I want to show you in just a bit, and an update on the Artemis launch. Artemis 2, big new update with that, and I'll get to that here in just a few moments as well. So let's get into it. As always, thanks for stopping by, and if you have any questions or anything like that, we're always streaming on a lot of our social media platforms. I would love to hear from you. Back over to Europe. Let's talk about what's happening here with the Olympics, which the United States at this time, I believe we are second in the medals behind Norway. Norway just cruising right along. Those Scandinavian countries always do pretty well. They did get some pretty decent snowfall yesterday into the Alps there. An area of low pressure now drifting off towards the east. Sunny skies, though, for the time being in Milan at 61 degrees there, heading through their Friday evening. Taking a look at the futurecast here, there is some more snow possible on Saturday. They got a low off just towards the north. Does weaken off just a little bit, but in general, much of the Italian peninsula out here towards the Mediterranean staying very dry through Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. It's not until you just get up to the mountains, get a little bit of that orographic lifting that does increase that chance of snowfall out there. Like here in Milan, you do have 58 degrees. It's partly cloudy, really Saturday, Sunday, and heading into Monday, and also out of Cortina. In fact, I want to show you some video out of Cortina because they just had that snow move through there, and it dropped already some pretty decent snowfall accumulation. So if we could show that, yeah, there we go. And you know what? Kind of joking, like this feels like news, it's snowing there, but this is the Alps. And I know the last few Olympics, they were a lot warmer. They were in lower elevations. They were in just areas where you don't think of snow all too much. Here at Cortina, though, this is up there in the Alps. The Dolomites right in there. I mean, this is peak snow location. So, of course, they know how to handle this just fine. Big thing is a lot of the tourists and people coming from maybe out of town who are a little bit surprised by this. But I'm sure this is a regular process for them to clean up the snow like this here along those sidewalks and the side of the road. And good news, the snow's not going to cause. I know there was some delays a couple days ago due to in slope style because of the snow, and it's not so much the snow, it's the reduce in visibility in spots when it does start to come down. That could make things a little bit dangerous, especially in those bigger jump type of events where you really want a good concrete look at what's happening on the ground, like what you see in front of you. So yeah, that's what it looks like out there in Cortina right now. Still more snow continuing to take place, and if we go back to that forecast for our Saturday, we still got plenty of snow, a high of 37, a low of 19. Partly cloudy here on our Sunday, and still cloudy on our Monday. Gets a little bit warmer, but by that point, guess what? The Olympic Games are starting to come to an end. Yeah, that's bittersweet. One of my favorite events of the year. Speaking on the snow, though, let's take a look across the Northeast. We're watching this big old storm, a bit of a nor'easter developing off of New England, and this is going to be like, I think 6 weeks straight they've had snow there in New England. 6 weekends straight, I should say. It always comes in on the weekends. Another round, places like Boston, Providence, extending back towards the coast of Maine, all looking at some pretty decent snowfall due to this storm system kicking off there towards the east. While behind it, you still got some decent lake effects setting up across parts of Michigan, Superior, but you know what happened yesterday? Watch how this whole line kicks on through here, and it drops some rather nasty weather. In fact, I want to show you some video of a tornado out of Illinois, where this one, part of multiple tornado outbreak in this area as well. Actually, some of these causing a little bit of damage. Look at that funnel cloud right there. One of our storm chasers out there going after this. And boy, we just did a little storm chasing here on the First Coast last week. It is difficult to catch these storms at the right time and then get close enough to them where you can record it. But yeah, there was confirmed tornadoes on the ground in this area. You see some people stopped in the middle of the road right in front of them there. They're probably like, I don't think I'm going to go any further. That looks a little sketch going in that direction. But yeah, the pretty incredible video there from Spence Flugel Weather, one of the storm chasers out there. You always know it's a storm chaser if you see that WX at the end of their username. So a shout out to them getting this incredible footage. Even if it's not a tornado right on the ground, which this one doesn't look like at this moment, you still can see like the whole just environment and development of the cloud itself, that inflow wrapping and around it, the dry slot right behind it, all just classic signs of some of these stronger storms. Let's take a look at our graphics here though, because I can give you an idea of where this took place. They're just south of Chicago, east of Indianapolis, and or east of St. Louis, excuse me, just outside of Effingham. Wade, Robinson, I believe that's where that funnel cloud just came out of right there. And all those areas in red, obviously the funnel clouds didn't reported tornadoes, but you also see there's some hail mixed in there, some pretty serious wind damage as well. So all sorts of just messy weather with this severe weather outbreak in that area. And then we move over towards the West Coast. And I do want to talk about an ongoing situation in this area in just a minute. First, we're going to go to a break, though. We'll come back here in just about 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere, because I've got some big news and an update on a very tragic situation out here.
The First Coast News weather team has your most accurate forecast with weather impact alerts to warn you about severe weather. Our team is here to help you prepare and keep you safe.
The First Coast News weather team is always on your side. Stream extended coverage on First Coast News Plus.
This February, the past mingles with the present on Jacksonville's historic East Side.
A neighborhood that everyone respected everybody.
Birthed from the ashes of the Civil War, Out East remains the city's last 19th century historically black neighborhood.
It's beautiful now, but not the way it was when I first came here.
Each street paved with pain, persistence, and progress.
Mount Olive is still on the block.
Vivid Hues, stories of black history, Monday mornings at 6. First Coast News on your side.
This month, we're pushing through traffic to follow the money.
Transportation is really important.
So we make it more affordable.
Breaking down the dollars, the dangers, and what's next.
We're very excited about this Better Together campaign.
On the Move on Good Morning Jacksonville all month long, Tuesdays at 6 a.m.
Artificial intelligence isn't coming, it's already here. And it's also a tool, not the answer.
Yes.
From how we prepare the next generation for work, to how law enforcement balances innovation and public trust.
Don't let ChatGPT replace your therapist.
Inside our classrooms.
Anything you wanted to do, it would do.
The revolution will be AI. Will you be ready? Watch Good Morning Jacksonville Thursday mornings at 6 all month long. First Coast News on your side.
When you think winter sports, you probably don't think about the Sunshine State.
Ocala was the speed skating capital of the world.
Hitting the ski slopes right here in Florida.
Here's a blast, and on the mountains a blast.
Olympic-inspired stories right here on Good Morning Jacksonville every Friday at 6 a.m.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with First Coast News and First Coast News Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage with First Coast News and First Coast News Plus.
All right, welcome back, and let's talk about what's happening out here on the West Coast, because you can kind of see, even here on the satellite radar, we had this snow that came through a few days ago, and you see the low pressure area now moving out here towards Colorado. What happened was you had some pretty decent warm air out ahead of that, caused a little melting, some fresh snow, and then some cold air behind that. It caused compression, and it can make for some very dangerous conditions up there in the mountains, and specifically out of Lake Tahoe, there was a deadly avalanche here. 8 people on the mountain there lost their lives, and it's still a struggle to even find them. There are the remains out there in the mountains because of the continued snowfall and continued rough conditions. As our reporter Sergey Quintina reports here out of the Lake Tahoe area.
Even in Grass Valley and Nevada City at the base of the Sierra and much lower elevation than the site of the avalanche, snow has slowed vehicles to a crawl, and government offices have been ordered to close for the day. At Castle Peak at about 8,200 feet and much closer to the site of that deadly avalanche, weather conditions are being described as near whiteout at times. And that's the reason why today the Nevada County Sheriff's Department and more than a dozen assisting agencies are not resuming their recovery efforts today. Forecasters say there is a possibility of some clearing tomorrow and warmer temperatures. According to avalanche and recovery expert Tom Matisse, that could help teams set up for a recovery in the coming days.
That warming could heighten avalanche conditions, but they're going to get visibility. So with visibility, they'll be able to reanalyze the terrain. They'll be able to get in there and do some snow pit analysis. They'll be able to decide what kind of safe routes they need and things they need to put into place to be able to operate safely.
Matisse recently retired after spending 36 years in the avalanche and recovery field in Montana and Alaska. The identities of the survivors and those who have died have not been released by authorities, but word is already circulating among the tight-knit community of guides and rescue workers here. They know some of those victims.
We're a small community and we look out for each other. And this is devastating. It affects us all.
Really, it's a tragic situation there, and I hope that their search and rescue are able to get up there into those mountains. I personally, on a personal note, actually am avalanche certified in search and rescue myself, which I know a little weird for somebody that works in the state of Florida, but I've spent a lot of time of my life, especially in my younger days, mountaineering, and it is tricky. It can be very tricky, especially you get up in these steeper elevations, you get those changing conditions. It all goes down to also just being able to read the snowflakes and be able to predict if there could be an avalanche and those conditions are right for it on that specific day. And yeah, you never want to see this. Every avalanche is preventable, but once they do take place, they're very scary. All right, let's go switch gears back to some warmer weather. Actually, we'll stay on the colder conditions because right now it is relatively warm across the southeast. We're south of this front that's kicking in from the north and west. And, so far this year, it's been, I would say in the early part of February was below average. We had some very cold conditions. Now we're back above average. But those below average temperatures we had at the start of February across the entire southeast, including much of the state of Florida, has had some big impacts on, of course, crops. Remember, a lot of people's pipes were burst, but there's also another species, animal, being impacted. It's not your pet. Well, maybe it's somebody's pet. But it is kind of interesting to hear about. And now I want to talk about bees. So let's switch over to a reporter here of Central Florida about how the local bee population actually in some of these hives are being impacted.
At Black Hammock Bee Farms in Oviedo, the impact of the current weather is hard to miss. Head beekeeper Beth Langlois says this winter brought devastating losses.
It killed everything. So right now we don't have any plants that are producing nectar, as well as plants that are producing pollen.
Without flowers or trees to feed on, the bees were left without their main food sources.
You can see the bees in there landing on it.
To keep them alive, Beth and her husband turned to constant feeding.
Right now we're getting thousands and thousands of pounds of sugar, mixing it with water, making sure all the colonies have buckets on them so that they don't starve to death.
The extra care comes at a cost, both financially and emotionally.
We had approximately 500 honeybee colonies at the time, and I'm pretty sure we're right at like a 50% loss. It was devastating. I felt really bad. I mean, I cried a whole bunch, and even when we had to go through to clean up the colonies that did not make it, they froze to death.
Owner Dennis Langlois says the problem goes beyond just cold temperatures. Drought conditions have made recovery efforts more difficult.
The plants that were affected by the freeze stopped the production of those foods, so whether that be pollen or nectar, but the drought is going to affect the next batch of plants that would be providing nectar and pollen to the bees.
Experts say what's happening here is part of a larger statewide issue. J.K. Yarborough with the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences says bees have to work harder to survive cold weather.
They stick together, they cluster around the brood inside of that hive, and they will vibrate their wings back and forth and create a lot of friction to be able to keep a nice and warm temperature inside of that hive to allow them to survive that cold weather.
Despite the setbacks, Beth says giving up is not an option.
The bees work hard for us, so we're going to work harder for them.
Interesting stuff there. Well, at least we're not worried about any cold snaps like we've seen there in early February, which would kind of caused a lot of those issues. But we do have some colder air in the forecast. And let's talk about the southeast, including specifically around the Jacksonville area where, we're seeing these temperatures begun to drop by Monday and a Tuesday. Out ahead of that, though, we do have some rather warm air in place and even a chance of some pretty decent rainfall as we go ahead through Saturday afternoon across southeast Georgia. Some light scattered type stuff overnight heading into Sunday morning, and then things do start to dry out. So here's a look at that forecast for our Friday here on the Jacksonville area and the First Coast. 85 for the high. If we hit 86, which is very well possible, that would be record tying. Same thing for Saturday. If we hit 86, which absolutely expecting at this time, could be record tying. Now, that's in Jacksonville. Do stress, the further north you go, the cooler, obviously, it's going to get, not only because you're going north in latitude, but also because you're heading under that cloud cover from the front moving in from the north. The further south you go, the more you get away from that cloud cover, the warmer it will be. So I think parts of central Florida could be into the high 80s here on our Saturday. Definitely a big warm up. Then you see here, so Saturday looking good. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, a big drop off back into the mid 50s here before we gradually start to warm back up. So what's going on? Well, you have just this kind of deep area of low pressure off towards the north, that nor'easter that's developing out across the New England area. And so that's going to give this initial shot of kind of cooler air. But with the tail end of this cold front, a new low is going to develop off of it. And then you're going to see another kind of reinforced cold front pushing through. So this is the one that here on Saturday night could bring the chance of some strong thunderstorms to southeast Georgia. And then it moves through, kind of loses a lot of its punch overnight, but the cold air is still there. So I don't expect like strong storms in Jacksonville, but we're going to get that cold air spilling behind it, some very chilly conditions. And just to kind of put it in perspective, let's go back here to Monday morning. Look at this at 9 a.m. Monday morning. See how far the snow extends south all the way to North Georgia. It kind of gives you a good idea. You have those isobars, those vertical lines going north to south, it's showing that cold air advection spilling in, and that is really what's going to be the catalyst for this just absolutely frigid conditions as we go ahead to the early part of next week. So to sum it up, what we have going on here is first, it's going to be kind of warm. You see here Friday and the Saturday, we got well above average temperatures across the southeast. Blast of cold air cools things down. By Tuesday morning, it's could probably be the coldest. This is for Jacksonville here, getting down to 32 degrees. And then you can see we get that gradual warm back up. Now that's just a look at the lows. How about we look at the highs and the lows, kind of put all this together here on our Friday, 85, 86 on our Saturday, Sunday getting down to 70, and then 55 and 56 on Monday over towards Tuesday, with the lows once again into the 30s before we slowly start to rebound back up to the 60s, near 70s by next Wednesday, heading into Thursday. So it's a roller coaster ride, and it is that time of year where you get some of these ups and you get some of these downs, and you kind of have to take the days at a time, because it's not like this heat, it's not long lasting. And this is why we always say an average. The average is 67 to 72. Now, if you kind of take the 80s, and then you take the 50s we're going to have by Monday and Tuesday. Right in the middle is our average high, about 67 to 72. So it's not like this is completely out of the ordinary to see these ups and downs. The average would be right about smack right in the middle of where you see the extremes of the highs and the lows there. Same thing goes with those average lows. We're at the mid 40s out here. We do need the rain, I'll tell you that. Big thing it would be if we get any of this rainfall. We are still in these very dry conditions here across the first coast. It's just not much relief here. And also wildfire risk continues to remain in place. So even the little bit of rain we're going to get, it's not going to be much of a relief for the southeast. And then behind the front, you get this kind of blast of cool, dry air, which is why by Sunday and the Monday, we bring that fire weather risk right back up, because you get cool, dry, and breezy conditions. That means, you know, the fire risk is 100% going to be right back up there. And this is humidity looking day by day over the upcoming week. And yeah, you can see here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, still staying on the dry side. Let's look at your forecast out here for the southeast. I do want to show you, and I'm going to leave you on some positive notes, a video out of the Space Coast, NASA, Artemis 2. This is from last night. The wet dress rehearsal. Yeah, so the wet dress rehearsal basically is a dress rehearsal. It's wet because there's fuel involved. And they take liquid hydrogen, they pump it inside that entire rocket, they fuel it right up, they do everything they pretty much need to do all the way up to launching the rocket. Now, the astronauts aren't on board or anything, but they make sure all the systems are running. And it looks like it was fully fueled up, loaded right up, was good to go. And there was some communication issues at first, according to NASA, but they solved that. They remedied it. And then they said, you know what, we're good to go. So here, where do we go from here? Well, basically, it looks like early March, we should have a launch window. I wonder if I still have the launch window graphic on here. So early March, we should have that launch window. And if we do, yeah, I actually do have that. Okay, so it would be March 6th or 7th. And at this time, after this wet dress rehearsal, the astronauts, starting here on Friday evening, are going to go into a quarantine. They basically have to go into a quarantine 2 weeks prior to a launch. Okay, so that way they don't get any diseases. They're not going up into space sick, and they're not spreading it to their fellow astronauts. So, putting everything together, the wet dress rehearsal, good to go. The 2-week quarantine period is starting here on Friday night, and the next possible launch window is the 6th to the 7th. So that would put us right on track for a possible launch on the 6th or the 7th. This has not been officially announced by NASA as of recording this, but it does look like Friday night, the March 6th is the most likely scenario for our next launch opportunity. Hopefully it goes through, especially with this wet dress rehearsal. Everything looks like it was good to go with the dress rehearsal, and NASA is very careful. It's your tax dollars, it's my tax dollars sitting on that launch pad, billions of dollars. They don't want to send it up and blow it up. Plus, there's 4 astronauts on board. That is more important. They want to make sure everything's going right and keeping everybody safe here. And that's the number one thing. You might be thinking, oh, well, the Falcon 9 just sent a rocket up to the space station. And that's the key difference. We're very good at going into low Earth orbit, but we haven't been back to the vicinity of the moon since 1972. It is a much bigger rocket. It has a lot more fuel on board, and it has a lot more just science involved in it. So a lot happening with this, but hopefully in 2 weeks' time from today, we'll be launching astronauts back to the vicinity of the moon. They're not landing. They'll be just doing everything basically up to landing, making sure that the Orion spacecraft is flying just fine here aboard the SLS. And then Artemis 3 will be the one actually touching down on the moon the first time since Apollo 17 in 72. All right, so back to the 7-day forecast, and we'll just wrap up with this here real quick with you. Big shout out to everybody following here on our Weather Watchers Worldwide. I feel like sometimes it's just 30 minutes of me rambling, but I try my best to keep this interesting, touching on different topics from all over the world, science and meteorological related. We do have some serious stuff that we talked about today, but also just some interesting things like the Artemis right there, as well. Some pretty good video of that funnel cloud out of Illinois. Just some incredible stuff here. So I hope that you enjoyed this Weather Watchers Worldwide. If you did, please let me know. I would love to get a message from you and just say you like what you see, or which you would like me to focus more on. If you want me to focus more on your local weather, well, guess what? In an hour and a half time here on FCN Plus, depending on the time you're watching this, but I know at 4:30 p.m., every day we do have Weather Impact Live, which is the local Jacksonville and First Coast weather forecast. As always, though, I am meteorologist Robert Speta. I always appreciate y'all stopping by, and I hope you have a great day out there.